Welcome to Email After Hours by SenderScore, powered by Validity.
We're your hosts. My name is Guy Hansen.
And I'm Danielle Gallant, and this is Email After Hours. Today on Email After Hours, we're diving into a story that could only happen in the unpredictable world of email marketing. We're talking about a campaign that was supposed to go to 18,000 subscribers, but somehow ended up in the inboxes of 12 million people. Dun, dun, dun. Some of whom hadn't even heard from the brand in years. So if you've ever wondered how email marketing can go sideways and how to recover, this episode is for you.
Johanna Morlock-Abassi, the Assistant Director of Email Marketing at the Bradford Hammaker Group, is returning to Email After Hours today. With over 18 years of experience, Johanna thought she'd seen it all, but as Danielle hinted at, nothing quite like this. From an email marketing glitch that was supposed to be a small and carefully targeted campaign to literally millions of unintended recipients, and turning that mistake into a revenue-generating goldmine, Johanna's story is full of unexpected lessons. Johanna, we can't wait to dive into this wild ride that you've just been through. Welcome back to Email After Hours. It's great to have you with us again.
Thank you. Nice to see you again, Danielle and Guy. Excited.
Now, we warned you that there would be an icebreaker question, and full disclosure for listeners, we said it would be a really great one for Johanna. So before we get into the story, let's start with the icebreaker. What is your personal favorite product or collection that you've worked with? Any hidden gems in the catalog that you're obsessed with?
Yes. So for our Bradford brand, we have a lot of Disney products that we license. And I think one of my favorite to date is our new, there's so many. I'm trying to think of which one really love it. We just came out with the Cinderella 75th anniversary product line. She just celebrated her 75th anniversary, and the products are beautiful. We have a apparel bag that's stunning, a jewelry piece. It's so hard to pick one, but that's my vibe right now.
Are you telling me that Cinderella is 75?
Yes.
Is that what we're saying?
Yes. She wears it well.
It's amazing.
Anyway, Johanna, you got quite the story to tell us today. And as we were hinting in the introduction, you set up a campaign for 18,000 carefully targeted, curated subscribers. But then things went a bit haywire, and you ended up sending to around 12 million customers. And as far as you're allowed to, tell us what happened.
Right. So we have it's the USMC's big anniversary this year. And so the email was going to affinity related customers that had purchased within that product line. And the email was very patriotic and beautiful. So that was a saving grace for us. One of my standard operating procedures that I do, I'll run a data extension in our ESP, and I always screenshot it and I send it over to my great, easy assistant, Shay. And this is just a process we've done over the last couple of years. And so each step in this process, it's kind of like, here's the data extension. We have the information, and you can see that those 18,000 subscribers were in the list. That particular morning, I ended up doing the campaign, and I did not screenshot it to Shay, but I screenshotted it to myself. Everything was set up, and it was going out later at night, a 6:45 p.m. send, because as all you email marketers do, we test day of send, time of send, and this is the ideal time to send this particular campaign. Sent it, woke up the next morning and realized that some of my files hadn't processed. In the morning, I was waiting for my website purchaser file that comes in around 5 a.m. I go to Validity and I check everything. And I look on Validity and I'm floored that my sender score, which we run about 98 to 99% for the Bradford exchange under Validity's sender score reputation, that particular IP and that campaign was down to a 7. Our sender score was at a 7. I know. I've never seen that in all my years.
Well, we're going to come back to sender score for
Yeah,
sure, but I want to know, what was your immediate reaction? Like when you saw this campaign was sent to a massive
right.
unintended audience, was there a bit of panic? Like, how did you handle
Oh,
it?
for sure. At first I thought this can't be right. There's something wrong in the reporting. So I look in the platform at everything that was sent, and no, it did deploy to that many subscribers, engaged and unengaged. So then, of course, I'm waiting for opt outs to come in, bounces. I'm checking every back end detail that all of you email marketers know that you're looking at. Our reports come out later in the day, so I couldn't check the KPIs open. I can see a little bit of opens, but I can't see the full thing until later in the day.
Wow. I think if I'd been sitting in your chair that day, I'd have probably had a little cry. But once you realized the scale of what had happened, what was your first move? How did you start to regain control?
Right. So as you can imagine, immediately I emailed my rep and explained the whole situation, had put in a ticket at the highest level for, actually sent a text to the vice president of that company, and just went everywhere I could to find any help and support in this situation. A couple hours later, I was on a call with them, so the support's great. And we went through step by step what had occurred, what had happened. As everyone knows, when you're troubleshooting with these different customer service reps, it takes a minute. So after that call ended, we said we'll get together later in the day. And then I was on my way out of town to e-tail conference, getting on a plane. So
Perfect
then,
timing.
yeah, so very fun. So I kept like trying to check my emails during this. Got back on with different folks. And the initial reaction was, oh no, this is something on your side. But I knew in my gut there was no way, based on all the years I've been doing this, and especially working with this platform for over 6 years now. And like this, there's something else going on. So I elevated the tickets, got more people, took it up the flagpole again, and sat on with a backend architect. And they realized it was a glitch in their system in the end.
A glitch, always at the mercy of a potential glitch. But when we were initially talking about this, and I want to ask this question because I know this is an IP segmentation strategy that a lot of senders I work with employ, or at least have had in the past. So you told us you had a risky IP in play for this campaign. So first, what exactly is a risky IP? How does it work?
Great question. Because I work with your great team at Validity, about 5 years ago, we decided we were doing email acquisition and we were doing different co-registrants. We have a lot of prospects that come to the site. We have 4 different IPs, and we decided let's make one of them a risky IP so we could put prospects under this IP. We could send to any of these lead gen customers that just came in, and then just miscellaneous. So we had set up that strategy, and it had worked for us and been great. On a lot of these affinity sends, because sometimes I usually go to our active customers. That means they purchased in the last 0 to 12 months. We go to the first inactive group, which is 12 plus to 24 months, because I'm always trying to reactivate our customers, get them back engaged. In those affinity sends, I will pull some older than 24 months. So for those campaigns, I always deploy it on a risky IP. I am so thankful that this campaign is out on a risky IP.
My next question has been preempted, I guess, because okay, so and just for everybody listening, this is to maintain good hygiene on all of the other IPs that you're sending from. And so, do you think that having this strategy in place helped you recover from this glitch?
Absolutely. If we hadn't had that set up the way we have for these previous years, we would have never sustained this little oops email that happened. And actually, so what's interesting, as I mentioned to you, we ended up at a number 7 sender score when we run 89 to 99. That IP was the only one that was affected. My other IPs were still in good standing, good reputation, everything, and their sender scores were high. So it definitely shows the power of using a risky IP.
For sure. Let's carry on talking about that because, like you, many of our customers use SenderScore to basically hold up a mirror to their programs and understand how they're seen by the major mailbox providers. And, dropping all the way down to 7, that's, it's a special day when that happens. Um, but the great news is that, within a week, within 10 days or so, you are back up to those high sender scores that you would normally expect. So, how did you achieve that? What was the factors that you brought into play to get your sender score back where you wanted it?
Right. So after we realized on day 1 we were down to 7, we stopped all emails deploying off of the risky IP. We moved everything to our other IPs with a little bit of a risk because that could have caused issues putting more, as we know, more volume on those IPs that they weren't used to. And based on nothing, we did not have any idea how to do this, but what we decided is 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we should be able to go back to that IP, watched it every day, worked with our rep over at Validity, and within 10 days, we were up to 71% sender score. We waited a few more days, and then every day we dropped one campaign, the next. So we basically warmed it up over those next 4 days, and we were back up to high 70s, and now we're back up to our 98%.
And I think that also speaks to having maintained. I've worked with, spoiler alert for everybody, a little bit behind the curtain, I've worked with Johanna's email program before. We've worked together. And I think it really speaks to having best practices implemented over time too, that would allow you to recover so quickly. So that's great. And actually, on that note, every story has a silver lining, or we hope anyway. Were there any unexpected positive outcomes that came from this ordeal? Was there like a happy ending to this little horror show?
Absolutely, there was. So the silver lining is that we saw 10 times lift in our front end sales from that campaign.
Oh,
We saw about, I can't remember the exact percentage, but we had a lot of those unengaged customers now become engaged and consuming our emails through our different brands. So that was positive. So it could have been these dormant customers that just, we hadn't reached out to. They were in our old inactive buckets. And so it was really a nice surprise to get a lift in these engaged customers. And there's still quite a few in there, and where we are generating revenue from them. So there is a happy ending to that story.
That's amazing. And building on that, were there any practical learnings that came out of this that you're actually going to be applying to your planned email activity moving forwards?
We are. We use a strategy where it's called the old inactives to reactivate. And Validity has a really nice list validation function in the platform that I'll put in these older lists. It'll say they're safe. It gives you like, yes, email, medium, do not email these. And so I will be going back to some of these older lists that I would not have tried when we're coming up to our big season in Q4, based on what we just experienced through February here.
what I don't want to happen for anybody listening to this episode is for them to go, oh, great. We should send to everybody, really, really old, unengaged subscribers, because we're going to reap the rewards. It's going to be fine. We'll recover in 2 weeks. We have a risky IP. That is not really the moral of the story. However, do you think that this experience tells you that senders should rethink their unengaged strategies? Like, lots of senders we work with have a set it and forget it mentality when it comes to re-engagement or win back programs. Like, what do you think about that?
Yes, I absolutely think that you should test into it. And if you have the Validity pre-send tool to do it, great, because you're going to feel 100%. If you are not using that, I would test small. I would do smaller tests. A risky IP, I would start out with 20,000 at a lot and just see how much you can send in this win back campaign, reactivation, unengaged customer strategy.
I think there's probably a lot of our listeners sort of sitting there almost thinking, there, but for the grace of God go I. This is probably going to happen to everyone at least once in their careers. And do you have any advice for them, when they experience their own heart-stopping oops moment like yours?
I would just say it's not the end of the world. I would hope that your platforms, that you have great customer service like we did, and really just write out the steps. I mean, we know a lot that we didn't know before, and just really work with your ESP. Really, I would stand your platform up with validity for the deliverability, the protection, the great strategies that we've implemented over the years together, because it's so important to have all of this in place to overcome this. This could have, on the bad side, collapsed someone's company. I mean, in reality, it really could have. You would have completely crippled your email list.
And I think it also speaks to, you mentioned that the email itself, the content, was really carefully curated. So there's another lesson in there, which is just in case an accident happens, every email should be that curated and that nice.
Yes.
Absolutely. Great.
Now, you mentioned this already. Now that we've made it through the short story, the short scary story with the silver lining. And so before we start to wrap up today, you mentioned that you were dealing with the fallout of this oops when attending eTail, which is a conference for email marketers. I'm sure some of our listeners have heard of it, if not attended. And we wanted to ask, do you have a favorite marketing event that you look forward to every year? And if you do, why? And I'm sure usually you don't have to deal with email firefighting duties during these events.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorites is eTail. There's always East and West, and both of them have been phenomenal. It brings a group of so many different companies together, individuals in all disciplines of email. It's really interesting because there's great content there and vendors, and then little mini sessions, roundtables, things that are so interesting and you can learn. A lot of people will bring their issues to this. And I did talk with a lot of people while I was there when this was happening. And it was really interesting. Everyone's feedback, their ideas, really talking about how we all talked about how important it is to have a deliverability company working with you, because it's so important with email today. So eTail, East and West would be my two favorites. What about you guys?
We've done both the eTails before, and in fact, we've done a couple of them in Europe as well. Always great events for exactly the reasons you're describing. And next big one for me, and we were going to ask you about this sort of post call, but Salesforce Connections in Chicago. So hopefully you're going to be there.
I've got to shout out Mog, which I feel like is like peak email nerddom. And any conference where what happens at Mog stays at Mog is always a great slogan that I'm here for.
Yeah. Johanna, thank you so much. I think, what struck us about today's conversation is that what you went through, I would wager that most people would actually just want to sweep it under the carpet and hope that they never think about it again. Whereas you, got in touch with us and it was like, boy, have I got a story to share with you. And thank you so much, because, I mean, these are always the best stories, and I'm sure our audience today has just taken a load out of it. So, we really appreciate you being so generous, with your insights and your learnings. Thanks so much. And for our listeners, if they're interested in connecting with you or sort of learning a little bit more about what you're doing with email marketing, what's the best way for them to reach out?
They can get a hold of me by emailing me at Johanna, JOHANNA .Morlock, MORLOCK ABBASI at BGELTD.com. And I'd be happy to help anyone. Thank you again, you guys, for having me. This has been great.
That's wonderful. Thank you. To our audience, be sure to tune in next time. Hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And we've spoken a lot about Sender Reputation today. Don't forget to visit senderscore.org for more resources to help you become stronger senders.
And Guy and I are always super proud of the guests who join us on Email After Hours, and we're always looking for new people to feature on future episodes and get them in the hot seat. So if you'd like to join us on an upcoming episode, just drop us a comment or ping us on LinkedIn. You can also fill out the guest form that's linked in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Be sure to tune in next time and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. And don't forget to visit senderscore.com for loads more great resources to help you become a stronger sender.
To all you sleepless senders out there, thank you for joining us after hours, and see you next time.